In this video, we'll be talking about the addition of real numbers. So first, let's talk about adding real numbers using a number line. On the number line, moving to the left represents adding negative numbers. Moving to the right represents adding positive numbers. Let's see some examples. So finding sum of -2 and -5. So here we have two negative numbers. And first, let's draw the number line. So on this number line, the point corresponding to -2 is right here. And we need to add a -5 to -2. So that means we need to move to the left by 5 units. So from this point, we move to the left by 5 units. So here is 5 units. So now you can see the result is -7. So now let's see the next example. So -2 plus 5. Now let's draw the number line. On this number line, the point corresponding to -2 is right here, because we need to add a positive number 5. So starting from this point, we need to move to the right by 5 units. So now you can see by moving to the right by 5 units, we get to this point, +3. So the results of this addition is 3. Now let's see more examples. -2 plus 0. Now let's draw the number line. On this number line, the -2 is right here. So in this question, we add a 0 to -2. Add a 0 means we move 0 units. So basically just stay at the same point. The sum right here is just -2. So next example, 0 plus -2. Let's draw the number line. On this number line, 0 is at this point. We need to add -2 to 0. -2 is negative number, so we need to move to the left. Starting from this point and move to the left by 2 units. So we get this point, so -2. So the sum is -2. So now we can see that -2 plus 0 is -2. And 0 plus -2 is also -2. So when 0 is added to any real number, the sum is identical to that number. So we just call 0 the identity elements for addition. For any real number a, we have a plus 0 equals a. 0 plus a equals a. So this is called identity property of addition. So now let's see more examples. 3 plus -3. Let's draw the number line. On this number line, first let's find the point for 3, and then move to the left by 3 units. So now you can see the result actually is a 0. Another example, -3 plus 3. Let's draw the number line. On this number line, -3 is right here. We need to move to the right by 3 units. So now you can see the result is a 0. So this sum is a 0. From these two examples, we can see that the sum of any number and its opposite is 0. For any real number a, we have a plus negative a equals 0. Negative a plus a equals 0. So this is called the property of opposites. So a number and its opposite are called additive inverses of each other because their sum is 0, and 0 is the identity elements for addition. Now let's see one more example. 15 plus negative 3. 15 is the sum of 12 plus 3. And then by using the associative property of addition, so we can regroup these three terms. So now we use the property of opposites. The sum is 0. And here we use the identity property of addition. So 12 plus 0 actually equals 12. One more example. So a plus negative a plus b plus negative b. If we calculate a plus negative a and the b plus negative b, so a plus negative a is we can use the property of opposites. This is 0. Similarly here, this is 0. So the result is 0. By using the commutative property of addition, we can get, so left side of this equation is a plus b plus negative a plus negative b. We just change the position of these terms. The result should remain unchanged. It's 0. And then we further use associative property. We can group these four terms like this. A plus b plus negative a plus negative b is 0. So by using the property of the opposite of a sum, we can get a plus b plus negative a plus b equals 0. Okay, based on these two equations, we can get negative a plus b equals negative a plus negative b. So basically, this term should equals the sum of these two terms. So from this result, we can see that the opposite of a sum of real numbers is equal to the sum of the opposite of the numbers. So this is called the property of the opposite of a sum. This property can be used to remove the parenthesis that is preceded by a minus sign. So for example, negative 9 plus 6 equals negative 9 plus negative 6. Or negative 3m plus 2n equals negative 3m plus negative 2n. This property can also be used to calculate the sum of two negative numbers. So for example, negative 6 plus negative 3 equals negative 6 plus 3 equals negative 9. So now we work on some examples of addition using the above properties. 303 plus negative 126 b equals 303 equals 977 plus 126. Then we use associative property of addition. So we can regroup these numbers. Then we use the property of opposites. We can get plus 0. Then we can use the identity property of addition. We can get 177. Next example. Negative 220 plus negative 72 equals negative 220 plus 72 equals negative 292. For this question, actually, we just use the property of the opposite of the sum. Next example. Negative 15 plus 2 equals negative 13 plus 2 plus 2. Then we use the property of the opposite of sum. So we can get negative 13 plus negative 2 plus 2. Then we group the last two terms together. So according to the property of opposites, we know that this one is a 0. So we can get negative 13 plus 0, because any real number plus 0 equals that number. So it equals negative 13. Next example. Negative 12 plus 27 equals negative 12 plus 27 is the sum of 12 plus 15. It equals, we can regroup these terms. So according to the property of opposites, so this is 0. And 0 plus 15 equals 15. Next example. 26 plus negative 33 equals 26 plus negative 33 is the sum of 26 plus 7 equals 26 plus, we can use the property of the opposite of sum. So we can get inside is negative 26 plus negative 7. Then we can use associative property, 26 plus negative 26. So according to the property of the opposites, this is 0. 0 plus negative 7 equals negative 7. In the examples, we have two terms. Now we can work on some examples that have more than two terms. Negative 5 plus negative 6 plus negative 12. We can work on the summation of the first two terms. Negative 5 plus 6 plus negative 12 equals negative 11 plus negative 12 equals negative 11 plus 12 equals negative 23. Next example, 0 plus negative 2. Here is negative 5 plus negative 12. First bracket, 0 plus negative 2 equals negative 2, because 0 plus any real number equals that number. In the second bracket, we have the sum of two negative numbers. And according to the property of the opposites of the sum, actually this one is negative 5 plus 12 equals negative 2 plus negative 17 equals negative 2 plus 17 equals negative 19. Now let's see some examples including variables. 2n plus 8 plus negative 3 equals 2n plus, we group these two terms together because they are just pure numbers, equals 2n plus, inside is 5 plus 3 plus negative 3. So we can calculate these two terms together. So it's a 0. We can get 2n plus 5 plus 0 equals 2n plus 5. Another example, 2a plus negative 3a plus 7 plus 6b plus negative 8. So first, let's group all the terms with a together. Then the term with 6b. Then the terms of just pure numbers. For the first bracket, we use the distributive property. We can get a 2 plus negative 3 plus 6b. For this bracket, 7 plus negative 8, we can get 7 plus negative 1 plus negative 7. Then we group these two terms together. You can see the 0. So we can get a, there's 2 plus negative 1 plus negative 2 plus 6b plus negative 1 plus 0. For the first bracket right here, this one actually also 0. So we can get a negative 1 plus 0 plus 6b plus negative 1. So it equals negative 1 by a is negative a plus 6b plus negative 1. Based on the property of addition, so we have the rules for addition, which is more efficient for the calculations. For any real numbers a and b, if you want to calculate the sum of a and b, we have several different situations. So for the first situation, a positive, b positive, then a plus b equals the absolute of a plus the absolute of b. So for example, 2 plus 3 just equals 5. Second situation, a negative, b negative, then a plus b equals negative of the sum of the absolute of a and the absolute value of b. For example, negative 2 plus negative 3 equals negative 2 plus 3 equals negative 5. So next addition, a positive, b negative, and the absolute value of a is larger than the absolute of b. In this case, a plus b equals the absolute value of a minus the absolute value of b. For example, 3 plus -2 equals 3 minus 2 equals 1. So next addition, A positive, B negative. The absolute of A is smaller than the absolute of B. So for this equation, A plus B equals negative. The absolute of B minus the absolute of A. For example, 2 plus -3 equals negative 3 minus 2 equals -1. So next addition, A and B are opposites. Then A plus B is 0. So for example, 2 by -2 is 0. So if the number have the same sign, like situation A and B, add their absolute values and prefix their common sign. So if the numbers have opposite signs, like situations C and D, subtract the lesser absolute value from the greater and prefix the sign of the number having the greater absolute value. Now let's work on one example using the rules for addition. 6 plus -3 plus 5 plus -9. First, let's work on the sum of the first two terms, 6 and -3. The difference between their absolute values is 6 minus 3. And the positive number has the greater absolute value. So here is positive. And then plus 5 plus -9 equals 3 plus 5 plus -9. 3 plus 5 is 8 plus -9. Now here's the summation of two numbers with opposite sign. And the difference between their absolute value is 9 minus 8. And the negative number has the greater absolute value. So we prefix the negative sign. We can get -1.